I still remember the first time I heard the term trail family. It was up near Neels Gap on the Appalachian Trail, early spring when the air smelled like thawed earth and wet pine needles. I'd been walking alone for a week, nursing blisters the size of silver dollars and convincing myself solitude was freedom. Then, one evening, as I limped into a campsite below Blood Mountain, I saw the orange flicker of a fire and heard laughter cutting through the cold wind. That was where I met Finch, May and Ringo. 3 hikers bound together more by shared miles than shared goals. Finch was the quiet one, a wiry guy with sunburned arms and a knack for tying every imaginable knot. May carried a battered ukulele and an endless supply of stories, half of which I was sure she made up. Ringo was the self-appointed cook, trail philosopher and occasional menace when it came to rationing. We fell into a rhythm over the next few weeks, walking separately by day, gathering each night around whatever small fire we could coax from damp wood. Then, one misty afternoon, somewhere between Franklin and the Smokies, we met Cal. He appeared out of the fog, like a figure summoned from a campfire story, grinning, broad-shouldered, carrying a pack that looked much too small for a through hiker. He spoke with an easy charm, talking about how he'd hiked parts of the Pacific Crest Trail, how he'd run out of patience with solo hiking, how maybe he could tag along for a few days. Finch shrugged. May, of course, welcomed him right in, and Ringo, always eager for new company, handed over a mug of instant cocoa before Cal even dropped his pack. At first, Cal was nothing but energy. He told stories that made us laugh till our ribs hurt, about losing his boots in a river crossing, about sleeping through a bear raid on a shelter, about hiking naked on a dare somewhere in Oregon. He seemed to know everyone on the trail, greeting northbounders by their trail names like old friends. The nights grew easier with him there, full of jokes and songs, and for a while it felt like our little group had gained something we hadn't known was missing. But then came the small things. The first was food. Cal had run a bit low, so we shared our rations, thinking nothing of it. A few days later, when Ringo went to cook dinner, he found one of our last packets of tuna missing. "Must have fallen out of my bear bag," Cal said, flashing that same grin. Later, Finch noticed the group's fuel canister was nearly empty, even though we hadn't used it much. May brushed it off. "We're all just tired," she said, strumming her ukulele softly as the fog rolled in again. Still, I felt a twinge of unease. On a trail where every ounce of food, every drop of fuel, every good decision could mean comfort or misery, trust was the real currency, and Cal was spending it fast. The tension didn't come all at once. It crept in quietly, like rain seeping through an old tent seam. We started double-checking our food bags at night. Finch moved the canister stove closer to his sleeping spot. Ringo stopped leaving his mug unattended, which said a lot for a man who'd once shared a spoon with a stranger during a storm on Mac's Patch. Cal never seemed to notice the shift, or maybe he just didn't care. He'd still flash that same easy grin, tell another story about this one time on the PCT, and somehow make us feel guilty for doubting him. The real break started at a campsite near the Nantahala River. We'd spent the day trudging through drizzle, every route slick and treacherous. My knees ached, May had blisters blooming under her toes, and all anyone wanted was a hot meal. Finch set up the tarp and stove, while Cal volunteered to run down for water. The spring was only a few hundred yards away, but he was gone nearly an hour. When he came back, the water bottles were full, but so was his grin, and his breath carried the sour bite of whiskey. "Trail magic," he announced proudly. "Some folks at the road crossing were sharing." May laughed, half in disbelief, but Ringo's jaw clenched. "You drank before getting the water?" he asked. Cal shrugged. "Relax, man. I rinsed the bottles after. I'm not an idiot." No one said much during dinner. The rain turned from drizzle to a steady pour, drumming against the tarp like a slow heartbeat. Finch, usually calm, kept fidgeting with the stove, checking and rechecking the flame. I caught May watching Cal with a look I couldn't quite read, something between worry and fascination. That night, while the others slept, I heard rustling outside. At first, I thought it was a raccoon, but when I peered out, I saw Cal kneeling by Ringo's pack, flashlight dimmed to a pinprick. I didn't say a word then, just watched him slip something small into his pocket and slink back to his sleeping bag. My gut twisted, but part of me didn't want to believe it. Maybe he'd just borrowed something. Maybe it was harmless. By morning, Ringo was furious. His compass was gone, along with one of his chocolate bars. He stormed off down the trail before anyone could say a word. May chased after him, while Finch and I broke camp in silence. Cal emerged last, stretching like a cat and asking if anyone had seen his headlamp. I looked at him, then really looked. The charm was still there, but beneath it, something hollow, calculating. Out here, miles from any road, we depended on each other for safety, food, and even sanity. And in that moment, I realised we'd invited a man into our small, fragile world who didn't understand what it meant to share it. The trail can handle a lot: rain, hunger, fatigue. But trust. Once that washes away, it's gone for good. We caught up with Ringo near Wessa Bald, sitting on a log beside the lookout tower, arms folded and face hard as the stone steps beneath him. May hovered nearby, strumming soft chords on her ukulele like she could smooth the air with sound. The view should have been stunning, blue ridges rolling off forever, but no one looked at it. The trail family felt like it had splintered overnight. Ringo didn't even wait for Cal to speak. "You took it," he said flatly. "Don't bother denying it." Cal's eyebrows shot up. "You think I need your compass, man? I've hiked half this country without one." Finch stepped in before the shouting started. "Maybe it just got misplaced," he said, though he didn't sound convinced. But Ringo wasn't hearing it. "Misplaced, my foot. I know what I saw this morning, prints right by my pack. You think raccoons wear size 11 boots?" The silence that followed was heavy as wet wool. Finally, May sighed. "Let's just get to the next shelter. It's a long haul, and fighting won't get us fed." We hiked in uneasy formation that day, no one more than a few yards apart, but somehow still alone. The trail wound steeply upward, switchbacks vanishing into mist. The sound of our boots on mud filled the space where laughter used to be. I could feel the weight of Cal's presence behind me. Light steps, unhurried, almost arrogant. At the shelter that night, we barely spoke. Ringo cooked his own dinner and ate apart from the rest. May's songs were gone, replaced by the rhythmic scrape of Finch's knife-carving tent stakes. I tried to keep peace, though it felt like patching a tarp with fishing line. Then came the next betrayal, small but sharper. We were running low on oatmeal, counting packets like gold. Finch, careful as ever, rationed them evenly, 3 each. But come morning, one of May's was gone. She found the empty wrapper tucked into the ashes of the fire pit, half burned. She confronted Cal in front of us all. "Did you do this?" He didn't even flinch. "You're going to accuse me over 1 packet of oatmeal?" Maybe a chipmunk dragged it out. But his tone wasn't defensive. It was mocking. I saw the look May gave him then, the same mix of disbelief and disappointment I'd seen in her eyes back at the river. "You think this is funny?" she asked. Cal just smiled. "I think you're all taking this hike too seriously. It's supposed to be about freedom, not rules and rations." "Freedom doesn't mean freeloading," Ringo snapped. That night, no one sang. The fire burned low, and each of us lay in our own little bubble of silence. I remember staring up at the stars through the bare branches, thinking how strange it was that the trail, which had brought us together in such easy camaraderie, was now showing us who we really were under pressure. The trail strips away comfort, pride, even patience. It leaves you raw. And raw people don't hide their true selves for long. And Cal's true self, I feared, was just starting to show. By the time we reached Fontana Dam, the air had turned sharp and restless. The Smokies loomed ahead, grey slopes cloaked in morning fog, and the tension in our group was thick enough to taste. We were supposed to celebrate there, a milestone before the park's long climb, but it felt more like standing at the edge of something breaking. Finch wanted to push on early, get ahead of the rain. May lingered by the visitor centre, staring at the lake like she could will it calm again. Ringo kept muttering about hiking solo from here on out. Cal, though, he was in high spirits. "Fontana Hilton, baby," he said, tossing his pack onto the shelter floor. Real toilets, picnic tables, hot showers, civilization. He even managed to charm a couple of day hikers into sharing their leftover snacks. For a few hours, it almost felt normal again. Then that night, a storm rolled in. Wind slapped the trees, and rain hammered the tin roof so hard we had to shout to hear each other. We'd hung our food bags on the bear cables outside, trusting the system like hundreds before us. But around midnight, I heard the shelter door creak open. I rose quietly and caught a flash of Cal's silhouette slipping into the rain. Lightning cracked, and for an instant, the whole world went white. He was out by the cables, fumbling with the carabiners, his own bag in one hand, May's swinging beside it. I watched as he pulled her bag down and crouched over it, back turned to the shelter. "Cal!" I shouted over the thunder. He froze, then straightened slowly. "Just checking it!" he called, but his voice carried guilt like smoke. By then the others were awake, stumbling toward the doorway. Ringo reached him first, lightning flashing again as he grabbed Cal's arm. "You lying thief!" he shouted. The two grappled, slipping in the mud until Finch pulled them apart. May stood there, rain plastering her hair to her face, eyes wide with betrayal. "Why?" she whispered. Cal didn't answer. He just looked at all of us, rain streaming down his face, grin gone at last. "You people act like this is boot camp," he spat. "It's just walking. Food's food. You hoard it like you own the woods." He yanked his pack from the mud and turned away, vanishing into the storm. We waited for hours, thinking maybe he'd circle back, but morning came, clear and cold, and there was no sign of him, just his empty sleeping pad and a muddy trail of footprints leading north. We found the torn open food bag under a tree near the cables. Half the contents were gone, and what remained was soaked through. May knelt beside it, quiet for a long time, then said, "He's gonna get himself killed out there." Finch nodded grimly. "Out here? A man like that runs out of luck fast." Ringo didn't say anything. He just kicked dirt over the fire pit and shouldered his pack. We left Fontana in silence. The trail stretched ahead, endless and uncertain, and though we still had miles to walk together, something essential had already ended that night. We climbed into the Smokies, with the storm's aftertaste still in the air, that sharp metallic smell, like a struck nail. The world up there felt scrubbed raw, rhododendron leaves washed bright cold wind combing the spruce. We moved like a wounded animal, together but tender where trust had been. Every shared task required a glance, a nod, a small repledge. May parcelled the dried food that hadn't turned to paste. Finch fixed a fraying guy line with patient hands, and Ringo, gruff as a thunderhead, started checking our bear hangs twice. No one mentioned Cal, not at first, but absence has weight, and his shadow hiked a few paces behind us all day. 2 mornings later, near Klingman's Dome, we saw a figure at the edge of the trail, slumped against a mossy log. Cal's face was pale, lips cracked, the swagger rinsed clean, his ankle was swollen like a knotted rope, and the little pack he boasted about sat open beside him, nearly empty. He looked up when our boots stopped. The grin flickered, then fell. "I misjudged the miles," he said, voice hoarse, "and the weather, and most things." The wind tugged at our sleeves. I could hear a raven calling in the distance, that hollow croak like a question. Finch crouched and wrapped the ankle. Ringo set water to warm without a word. May gave Cal half a tortilla and a measured stare. We weren't angels, just hikers with more supplies than pride. Still, I watched all of us draw the same line inside. We'd help because that's what you do out here, but help wasn't the same as welcome. When Cal tried to fall in with us again, the conversation happened in a single, steady minute. May spoke first, gentle but firm. "We'll walk you to the gap and make sure you get a ride to town," she said, "but our food, our fuel, our hangs, they're closed to you." Finch nodded. "You can hike beside us, not with us. That's the difference." Ringo's jaw worked, then he surprised me. "You don't owe us an apology," he told Cal. "You owe yourself a lesson." Cal looked past us, toward the wet bank smell of the pines. He swallowed. "Fair." And for the first time since he appeared out of the fog, he didn't try to charm his way through a gate. He just fell silent and limped when we did, stopped when we did, and kept a respectful 6 paces back. At Newfound Gap, the road curved through a dish of cloud, and traffic hissed like rain on stone. We flagged a car. A couple with trail magic in their smiles took him in. Cal climbed into the back seat, then leaned out the window. "I thought the trail was about freedom," he said. "Didn't get that it runs on promises." "It does," I said, "and promises weigh less than water until you break them." The car disappeared into the mist. We stood a while, letting the quiet rebuild around us. Then Ringo handed May the last good oatmeal, and she split it 4 ways without ceremony. Finch grinned for the first time in days. The ridge shouldered us forward. We finished the Smokies bruised but intact, our little family solid by the heat of that week. Nights after, around other fires, we told the story not like a warning so much as a map. How strangers become a circle, how rules are really just ways of carrying each other, how kindness and boundaries can live in the same pack. The trail isn't about the far mountain. Turns out it's a dozen small choices where your boots actually land. And if there's any lesson I keep close, it's this. Out here, a person is as good as their word and as safe as the people who believe it. The miles are hard, but the promises are what get you home.